Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. Most in-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation. By Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully, so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/hamnation. And by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. This is Ham Nation, episode number 325 for November 8th, 2017. Randy's Pineboard SWR meter. Hey, hello everyone. No, don't adjust your screen. This is a green shirt. It's a very green shirt because, well, it's Ham Nation, and that has absolutely nothing to do with green unless you're a Dr. Seuss fan, but that's really not why you tuned in tonight, is it? No, it's not. You tuned in to see Ham Radio, not green eggs and ham. And we've got the usual cast of suspects with us. We'll have George come up later on with Smoke and Solder. But let's go out to the West Coast first because we got Gordo. Gordo, say hello real quick. We'll go around the horn here for the rest of them, and then we'll come back to you for short shots. But we want to see your smiling because, my God, everybody loves a man in uniform, don't we?
Well, thank you. And yes, this is getting ready for Veterans Day, which is this coming Saturday. And you know, this past weekend, we had the military.
Exercise. This broadcast is in support of the Department of Defense Communications.
Yeah, we played with the Department of Defense and the military. What a weekend. Back to you, Don.
Well, that's the kind of exercise where you don't work up a sweat or get your heart rate up, which is really good. Speaking of get your heart rate up, pretty girls always do that for me. And let's bring Valerie in because, well, she is one of those. Hi, Val. How you looking lovely tonight, darling?
Hey, Don. Oh, thanks. And you know, Gordo, I'd love to see if you had a hat on. That would be really nice. Yeah, lots of good stuff going on. Lots of DX right now. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's 3 Charlie 1 Lima, Equatorial Guinea. They extended their stay. They're going to be there another day or so. But lots of great DX coming up that I'm going to be talking to you guys about, as well as a really difficult contest, but I'm going to hopefully put your mind at ease and you'll get involved in it. So lots of good stuff.
Awesome. And we've got Dr. Bob with us at the top of the show. Hey, how are you tonight, sir? Good to see you again.
Well, good to see everybody, and welcome to the chat room and everybody watching. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was supposed to be someplace else. About 4 o'clock, I found out, hey, I can be where I can set up and do this thing, and the computer is all new. I don't know what's going on. Skype decided to do something stupid, but we're here. I think so. I got some really neat things, and I got pictures, some really cool pictures, and we're going to talk a little more in depth about the Pineboard and other things going on. So, Don, get the gear shift going and let's make it happen.
We'll do it. Thank you, sir. Back out to our man on the West Coast. That would be Gordon West with Short Shots. Pick it up, Gordon.
Well, thanks so much. And Quartzsite, Arizona, a couple weekends ago, the My La Paz team, Dave, K1AN, Heather, W8GEM, and Neil, W6FOG, worked with the kids. Many of them are ham radio operators. You know, Quartzsite is the home of Quartz Fest, which is coming up in January. And we're sure hoping to see many of our viewers and listeners out at Quartz Fest. This weekend, Veterans Day, as we said before, W0W, special event station for Veterans Day, will be on the air celebrating the Vietnam Veterans Memorial 50 year. K0MHP, thanks for that information. And yes, this is my U.S. Coast Guard auxiliary uniform. Valerie, I can't wear the hat because I'm inside. but I'm thinking about you. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary is celebrating 78 years as the auxiliary anniversary. 33 special event Coast Guard Auxiliary stations will be on the air, so be sure and listen for them this Veterans Day weekend. Also, a big shout out to Jim of Jim's Engraving. Jim's the one that does these great translucent signs. Jim's hopefully going to get well. He was in the hospital, and Jim, we hope to get out soon. Well, let's take a listen and hear what no ham radio operator really wants to hear big time. So if we can go ahead and roll the short shots, here's a noise. Oh. Have a good noise floor. I always worry a little bit about what type of radio antenna you may have. But one of the biggest noise sources, of course, is thunderstorms. And this is on HF. It may go up to 6 meters, but usually it's not going to affect the other bands. But after a major thunderstorm has passed, or sometimes when it's approaching, you'll begin to see things on your spectrum scope. And those things that you spot on the spectrum scope could be lightning crashes. And if you listen carefully, oh, there was a good one. You can always tell when it's a nearby lightning storm because the crash may be so loud that it is going to cause your AGC to quickly hiccup and pull down all of the noise until it comes back up. And you see a lot of those lightning crashes there. Well, here is something that you never want to see on a scope. And that is noise that is coming from, well, we'll let you listen to it. Well, I'll tell you where it's coming from. It's coming from something that has a microprocessor in it. And on high frequency, sometimes those microprocessor noises can go up to about a block away. But they're a nightmare if they're right there in your own shack. So no matter how great your equipment is, if you haven't got it plumbed properly outside, the noise from power line is going to come on in. And you all know what power line noise sounds like. It is just plain ugly. Yes, MFJ as well as DX Engineering have a lot of filters, and some of them will help on constant power line noise, but even the best filter is getting the power line noise not to rear its head when you really need to work some rare DX. And of course, out here in Southern California, when we get a lot of fog, many times we'll hear on high frequency sort of a roar. And that's what happens when the insulators get wet. Now, for those of you on JT8, sometimes in between some of those signal hits that we see here on the screen, you'll be able to see actually that noise building up in the background. And when we do our Coast Guard auxiliary work on MT63, you'll see that there's a lot of noise right there in the passband of what we're trying to tune in. Now, you may say, well, digital signal processing by new ICOM 9100 right here. Well, it's not new. It's actually 3 years old. It has DSP built in. If you have an older rig, you can add DSP to it. But here's what DSP does to noise. And take a listen.
Then we kick in DSP.
Hear that code come up? There's even more noise. Eliminated.
And without DSP. And
so the DSP is useful for voice, but it is not necessarily useful for the digital modes because it may grab a hold of a single tone and think that it's wanted to be eliminated. So do not use DSP, especially if you're trying to do some of the new digital modes that you see here. Leave your DSP turned off, and you'll get along just great. For those of you doing visual, facsimile here in the Coast Guard Auxiliary Shack, many times we'll pull down maps, and there you see what high-frequency noise looks like. And it is not pretty, believe me. So DSP, good for voice, but not necessarily for the digital mode. Something to think about. You need to track down the noise, especially if it's maybe right there at your own house. You can use something exotic like this from one of the manufacturers. And you can also use other pieces of equipment, such as a small Grundig radio. Make sure you're in the upper sideband mode. And begin to track down where that noise is coming from. And some of the noise sources may be in your house. So you think, well, if I shut off the circuit breakers, it's certainly going to have that noise go away. So we shut them all down. And, of course, you're going to have to reset everything when you turn them back up. And the noise is still there. Well, on this one case, with everything shut down, we said, well, what's running on maybe a battery? So we tracked the battery. And the battery was being dutifully charged by solar panels. And solar panels themselves don't give off high-frequency noise. But here it is. This was one of the battery solar chargers that does pulse teching. And if you listen carefully, you'll hear the pulsing. Tick, 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 tick. Yep. So those are intentional little perks to dislodge any stuff growing on the plates of the battery. But the problem is that little arc that you see there at the tip top, that's going to create a lot of bit of noise. So be cautious that after you shut off your AC power, that you may not have solar power completely turned off. Now, your neighbor's getting solar, or if you're getting solar, the well-planned solar installation does not cause a problem. In fact, that's my next-door neighbor. I do not even hear his solar controller. But as a test, when they were putting it on, I have them turn it on and turn it off, listening on HF, and even with my beam aimed right to it, I did not hear a problem. Now, to detect noise, a little AM radio, or if you have a handheld that tunes in AM, that's the way to do it. You cannot easily detect noise in the FM mode. It's got to be AM. So most handhelds do have AM reception, and that's a great way to go. Even though a device may be listed as Part 15, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to give off a lot of noise. We saw a lot of Part 15 noisemakers. Here was one in our own house, and this one we made sure we had it all plugged in with a grounded plug. And here was the noise that we heard coming from the washing machine. Hang on, here it comes. Yep, that pulsing noise was indeed the washing machine. And so I can always tell when we've got the washer on. And if you look at it and listen to the noise, as you tune across the band, you're going to hear that noise, unfortunately, loud and clear. There's no real cure for that. We tested with a little AM radio and found that a panel with an analog meter was not a problem. We did some further testing to find out noise sources, and we found the fax machine was a real noise maker. And who would think that a fax machine would be a huge noise maker? But there it is. But it only made the noise when it was exiting a piece of paper. So that's something to think about. So when you see these reoccurring spikes on your scope, you know that it's probably microprocessor noise coming in somewhere close. And that microprocessor noise is easily picked up with a simple AM or shortwave radio. We have found that LED devices don't give off noise down on high frequency, but you may see when you do an LED light bulb that on VHF you gain 1 S unit of noise, of just background noise. Usually you can't hear it, but you know that it's there, so be wary of that. And of course, solar chargers or battery chargers that you plug into the wall that don't have the CE approval, they are many times noisy, and no matter how many of the little filter chokes you put on there, ferrite beads, sometimes it just cannot stop the noise that comes in. All right, here was the classic. Who would think that a dimmer would make noise like this? And when we turned that dimmer all the way on or all the way off, then it was noise-free. I've never heard any noise come out of air conditioning or heating controllers. This noise had a very strange sound to it. Oh, yep, it was Fido getting the last lick. Dishwasher noise, yeah, if it's got a microprocessor, that could take place. And simple battery chargers, the new switcher battery chargers on high frequency can sometimes generate a lot of noise. So no matter what radio you have, Kenwood, Yaesu, ICOM, Alinco, any of the USA-made radios, Flex, Elecraft, they all have good noise filters, but your very best noise filter is for you to track down the noise and try and get rid of it. So thank you all for tuning in. This weekend is Veterans Weekend, so wear your colors, and we salute all of you. And Jim, who is a veteran with Jim's Engraving, get well, Jim. We're all pulling for you. So, Don, we were talking about DX Engineering as the spot for all sorts of great noise filters. What have you got, Don, from DX Engineering?
Before we get into that, I just wanted to say thank you for your service with the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And Jim from Jim's Engraving, he had triple bypass surgery. So he's hopefully on the mend. So he made it through surgery okay and is resting. So we send Jim, of course, does the signs and stuff over our shoulders here. But, Gordon, I took when I had my boat, one of the things that I did was I did the Coast Guard Auxiliary Safe Boating class. And anybody who has a boat, I highly recommend you to go take that safe boating class because it's amazing the stuff you learn. And I got a bit of a break on the insurance for my boat, too, because I had that card that said I had passed. So very good. I don't have the boat anymore, but I do have the knowledge. And in fact, one of these days, I'm gonna reteach myself how to tie a bowline. Because I forgot. But
very good. I salute you for that.
Tying, I love the knot tying part of it, and I definitely want to get back into that. Well, let's talk about DX Engineering because they've got a lot of really cool stuff in this catalog that I have right here in my grubby little paws. This holiday season, you can give the OMs and the YLs in your life something very special, and you'll find it there in that very DX Engineering catalog and online at dxengineering.com because our friends at DX Engineering make shopping simple by offering an array of gifts for hams, including polo shirts, portable canopies, coffee mugs, wall clocks, DXing videos, and more. 3 surefire ideas that any ham would love to unwrap. This would be the biggie, the Chron World Ham Radio Clock, a DX Engineering exclusive. The first time I saw one of these was back in the 1980s. I was working at a shortwave radio station, WRNO, worldwide in New Orleans, and they had a Chron. Now, it didn't have all the ham radio stuff on it. This is way, way more advanced than the one that Joe Costello had there in the control room. But we had a Chron clock in the control room of the shortwave. I was on the FM, but we would simulcast the FM on the shortwave back in the mid 80s, mid to late 80s, and just an amazing experience. But that Chron uniquely displays geographical plus local time, 12 and 24-hour formats, so it was perfect for the shortwave. UTC time, sunrise, sunset, all the legal time zones, sun movement, daylight duration, latitude, longitude, lit up in full color. They're an impressive touch to any shack. I got to tell you, the one at WRNO Worldwide caught my eye from day one. They're designed with the help from the DX Engineering team and incorporate all of the original Chron features, plus, this is the stuff that we didn't have at RNO, CQ zones and country prefixes. They're 2 by 3 feet, so they're big. They come in a standard version with a black vinyl finish or the special edition with black anodized aluminum for hams and non-hams alike. The Chron has geopolitical clocks that feature current country borders and demarcation lines, topographical world clocks that show Earth view composed from satellite imagery. The map depicts the Earth and its oceans as it appeared a few thousand years ago before human influence. Just an amazing bit of kit, those Chron clocks. Equipment covers from EA Antenna make a thoughtful and practical gift for any ham who wants to keep their gear in tip-top shape and dust-free. Nothing worse than having your really nice ICOM or Kenwood or Yaesu or whatever covered with dust. Well, these equipment covers from EA Antenna are amazing, and DX Engineering offers a wide selection of custom-fit covers embroidered with the logo and model number of the gear that they're protecting. I saw a whole bunch of those in Tim Duffy's shack when I was there a couple of years ago. Each sewn polyester cotton cover has slits in the back. You can slip it right over the radio or amp without unplugging anything. The fabric is soft, it's opaque, and it's manufactured to fit and protect your equipment. Don't those look sharp? EA Antenna produces covers for major brands Kenwood, ICOM, Yaesu, and ACOM. And for any ham radio enthusiast, nothing says Happy New Year like the latest edition of the ARRL Handbook, the most widely used one-stop reference and guide to radio technology principles and practices. And it's not just for hams; it's for anybody who's into electronics. There are a lot of places that you'd be amazed how many TV stations and broadcast engineering departments have the ARRL Handbook, which you'll find that's new in the 2018 edition and the hardcover or the paperback. 1,280 pages covering nearly every radio topic imaginable, including new projects like VHF, UHF microwave filters and transmission lines. Key topics including radio electronics theory and principles, circuit design and equipment, radio signal transmission and propagation antennas and transmission lines, and more. New and updated content on software-defined radio, digital signal processing, grounding and bonding, solar cycles 24 and 25, tower safety, building remote control stations. That's something new this year. Just amazing. It's a full redo. And DX Engineering ships faster than anybody else in the industry. Most orders placed by 10 p.m. Eastern are shipped the same day. Proven products, expert advice. DX Engineering helps you shrink the globe. Request your catalog or shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/hamnation. And we thank DX Engineering for being a big part of what we do here at Ham Nation. Let's go ahead and get into the news of the week now from Amateur Radio Newsline, and we'll hear from Dr. T. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2088, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, November 8th, 2017. Ham Radio is alive and well on the campus of California State University, San Bernardino. Located directly on the San Andreas Fault, students in the CSU SB Amateur Radio Club are working on several projects tying together disaster assessment, communications, and, of course, radio.
Dr. Vincent Nestler, KK6WJU, is the sponsor of the group and a professor of cybersecurity at the school.
We have a disaster preparedness project. We're working on some cool stuff like getting the school as part of the broadband mesh that's out here. That allows us to have digital communications in real time. One of the cooler things we're trying to do is send up drones. One drone will have a relay doing cross-banding so that whoever can hit the drone from line of sight will be able to communicate further and maybe get to the repeater that they might not be able to or whatever. Send that information back via the broadband mesh so that anybody that's on the mesh can see that video. We can send up the drone and have it show real-time footage of, okay, this building collapsed. This building's on fire.
The club has licensed around 30 people so far. Reporting for Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Neil Rapp, WB9VPG.
In Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, hams are gearing up for a drill this month to ensure safety surrounding a local nuclear power plant.
In Pennsylvania, the Reading Radio Club is preparing to take part in the Limerick Power Plant exercise on Tuesday, November 14th, and is looking for 18 to 24 radio operators to assist, starting at 5 p.m. The Limerick Generating Station in Limerick Township, Pennsylvania, is a nuclear power plant that can produce enough electricity for more than 1 million homes, but its presence also produces concerns about public safety in the surrounding 10-mile emergency planning zone. The Amateur Radio Club provides communication support for these tests every 2 years. Since the exercise covers a number of different municipalities, the club is hoping to have 2 or 3 hams stationed at each location, as well as some assigned to the Montgomery County EOC. Hams who are participating for the first time will be paired up with an amateur who has assisted in the exercise before. Food will be provided at each location. For more details, send an email to Don, WA1ELA, at JONI-DON@ATT.net. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Heather Emby, KB3TZD.
And finally this week, a woman who used her mastery of Morse code to help make World War II history has died.
One of the heroic Bletchley Park listeners of World War II has died. Allison Robbins taught herself both Morse code and German during the war, intercepted messages from U-boats around the coast of Britain, and was instrumental in passing along those messages to Allied codebreakers at Bletchley Park. Her assignments placed her at various coastal listening stations. She was described in various newspaper reports as the last surviving secret listener of that era. Allison had been in the Women's Royal Naval Service during the early part of the war and also worked at the Royal Naval College. Her daughter Jill Hazel told the Mirror newspaper that the ex-Royal Navy Wren rarely spoke about her wartime experiences, which involved monitoring communications late into the night. Her husband Morris, who also spoke German, was sent to Germany before the Nuremberg trials to help with translations. Allison Robbins was 97. She died on the 15th of October at the Westbury Nursing Home in Bristol, where she had been receiving care for dementia. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
For the rest of this week's Amateur Radio News, please listen to the full Amateur Radio Newsline report online on a repeater near you or on shortwave radio station WTWW at 9930 and 5085 kilohertz. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at www.arnewsline.org. With Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG, Heather MB, KB3TZD, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update with Dr. Tamitha Skov.
We're in the middle of a huge solar storm that has brought gorgeous aurora all around the world. And a spotless sun has caused the solar flux to drop completely off the map. Will it ever come back? Those stories and more in the news this week. The sun's activity has really picked up this week, mainly because of this huge coronal hole here. It has rotated into the Earth strike zone and is now sending us some fast wind. We have bumped up to a G2 level solar storm. It is now kind of calming down just a little bit, but we expect to see more sporadic aurora over the next couple days. Outside of that, the activity on the sun is pretty quiet. We have absolutely no active regions in Earth view, which has caused the solar flux to absolutely die. You poor amateur radio operators are probably struggling right now. We've actually dropped below the marginal levels. The good news is Stereo A is showing some bright regions on the backside, and they should be rotating into Earth view here in the next week. Switching to your M-flare threat meter, you can see we are very quiet, folks. We are well below the seafloor. In fact, we're not getting anything at all in terms of flares. And with a spotless sun, you would expect that. The nice thing is that this X-ray flux is going to rise a little bit. That also means the solar flux in general is going to rise here in about the next 4 days when these new regions begin to rotate into Earth view. Switching to your solar storm conditions, you can see over the last week we've been very quiet. I mean, literally nothing's been going on until finally that fast wind that we've been promising, it hit us on the 7th. That's because that coronal hole rotated into the Earth strike zone so that that fast wind could reach us. It bumped us up to storm conditions pretty quickly and even made it up to a G2 level storm. This has brought gorgeous aurora all around the world, and now we're going to go through even a second night tonight. Things have died down just a little bit right now, but it doesn't surprise me if we bump back up to storm conditions or at least active conditions kind of sporadically here over the next few days, because aurora will still come and it will still cause some issues for you amateur radio operators. And this moderate level solar storm has brought us some gorgeous aurora all around the world. I'm just going to give you a sneak peek and show you a couple quick snippets, but more are coming. We'll start with Cumbria in the UK and west of Liverpool in England. The aurora even reached as far south as northern Germany in Europe. Now, over the pond, I'm just showing you a couple shots. Here's a gorgeous shot from Iowa. And the aurora even reached as far south as Nebraska. Switching to your solar storm and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are in the middle of that fast wind from that coronal hole that has rotated into the Earth strike zone. We reached moderate level storm conditions just yesterday, and we do still plan to continue the storming. At high latitudes, NOAA's expecting storm conditions with even a 55% chance of a moderate level storm over the next couple days before things begin to die down. At mid latitudes, we are expecting minor storm conditions, maybe about a 15% chance of a major storm there, and then things again will continue to settle down. So you aurora photographers, don't put your cameras away yet. We still have a few more days of storming. Switching to your solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week. Although the screen is green, I hear you amateur radio operators groaning. That's because this spotless sun has caused the solar flux to drop completely off the map. We don't have any flare risk, but we also don't have any solar flux. That's why the solar flux here is labeled in orange. We've dropped out of the marginal range and down into poor conditions. The only positive thing is that the regions on the backside, they'll be rotating into Earth view here in the next 4 to 5 days, which should give a nice little boost to the solar flux and pop it back up to marginal conditions. On the other hand, you GPS operators, especially at low latitudes, you're loving this quiet right now, and that solar storm that's happening is probably stabilizing that upper atmosphere just enough in places like Brazil and northern Australia to allow you to use your GPS at night. So the space weather this week is extremely exciting. We have a huge solar storm that's been bringing us some gorgeous aurora from all around the world, and it continues to rage. So you aurora photographers, don't put your cameras away yet. Now, you amateur radio operators, I know you're groaning. I can hear you. I know the solar flux has fallen completely off the map, and this solar storm is not helping propagation one bit. But hang in there. If you can get through the end of this week, next week will bring a brighter day, literally, and it should help radio propagation when these new regions rotate into Earth view. I'm Tamitha Skov. Thank you for watching.
Always good stuff from Dr. T. And if you don't follow her on Twitter, you absolutely should, because she posts all the time. If you're into the aurora photography, and I know a lot of people who are, she posts a ton of that she gets from her followers on her Twitter feed. Just amazing. And if you can catch her doing one of her live presentations on Periscope, you can actually interact with her. Just amazing. She's such a treasure, and we're so fortunate to have her be part of the ham radio team, not just Ham Nation, but the ham radio team. She's studying for a ticket, and she's going to get it. And speaking of shortwave radio, like we were earlier, WTWW carries the audio for Ham Nation on 5085 and 12.105, and we appreciate that. If you've got anything ham radio related you'd like to email and get on the air at WTWW, their email address is very simple. Email at WTWW.us. Just send that to Ted and the group, and they will get that on there. And that'll be fun. And you can obviously join me on there on the second Tuesday of the month on WTWW with Ted, which is coming up next Tuesday. Let's talk about a little DX with Valerie. Even though the sunspots have not been very conducive to good radio propagation, there's still a lot of good DX out there, Val. Some good DXpeditions too, right?
There sure is, and that's one nice thing to look forward to in the fall. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the 3 Charlie 1 Lima on 40 meters when we opened the show. They're on 160 now, and I don't know if you can hear this, but they're pretty down and loud on 160 here. And these guys, all right, they started off in Equatorial Guinea, and then they went to Annobon, and now they're back in Equatorial Guinea, and they extended till the 12th. They were supposed to be done today. There they are. Pretty loud on 160. It's just 2 guys from Latvia, and I swear these guys never sleep. But supposedly they don't. All they do is go out and buy more coffee and cigarettes, and they just go 24 hours a day. 2 guys. They've made 56,000 QSOs so far, and they're still going. So my hat's off to those, the 3 Charlie 1 Lima, and they were also 3 Charlie 0 Lima when they were on Annobon. So get out there and work them. They're going to be there till the 12th. I've got a couple slides to show you if you want to start showing those, Victor. First, we're going to start off with sweepstakes sets coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend. Now, a lot of people scare away from this one because the exchange is so long, but this is really good preparation for should there ever be an emergency. And as we all learned with Puerto Rico, there is, and there is a need for this. So this is really a good way to hone your skills should there be an emergency. So this contest runs next weekend. It starts Saturday. It's a 30-hour. It's 30 hours long, but you only can operate 24 of the 30 hours. And the goal is to work as many ARRL sections as possible. And each section is a multiplier, and there's 83 of them in total. Now, you can only work them once, regardless of band. So if you work them on 20, you don't get to work them again on 40 meters. So And that includes all of the USA and Canada. And there is a really long exchange, but I'm going to go through it with you if you want to show the next slide, Victor. First thing I'm going to show you is the sections. We all know these from Field Day. Here's all the sections, and that also includes Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, as well as the Virgin Islands. So KP4, KP2, KL7, and KH6 are in there, as well as the ARRL sections in the continental U.S. And then you also have the Canadian stations in the next slide. And they break out Ontario, just like they do on Field Day. You have ONE, ONN, ONS, Greater Toronto. And then you have the regular territories or provinces to work. So total in all is 83. So there's a lot you can work there to get the multipliers. And when you get them all, you get what they call a clean sweep. And then you can get a clean sweep mug. So it's kind of cool to try and get all 83. Go to the next slide and we'll kind of go over. These are the different categories that you can get in, and then they convert to a precedence code. So like if you're single operator, unlimited low power, you'd be a U, or if you were single operator, unlimited high power, you'd also be a U. So you'd kind of pick your category, and you're going to need to put that letter in your exchange. And if you go to the next slide, I'll show you the exchange, how that works. It's kind of long, but that's the goal, is to get you to try and copy accurately a lot of information instead of just the 59 Illinois, kind of thing. So you're going to have a serial number, the precedence, like a U, a B, a Q, things like that, or whatever category you're in. And you need to put your call sign in your exchange. Even though you're calling CQ NV9L, CQ Sweepstakes, and they come back to you, they know you're NV9L, you still got to put it in your exchange. And then you're going to have the check, and that's going to be the last 2 digits of the year in which you were first licensed. And then your ARRL section. So like my exchange is, say I talked to the 5th contact I made, my exchange would be 005 U NV9L 06 Illinois, because I got my license in 2006. I'm single op, running high power, unlimited. They were my 5th QSO. There's my call sign, and I'm in Illinois. So next slide. And so hopefully you guys get on, and we need more people to get on and do this kind of stuff so you can get prepared should there be any kind of disaster. These kind of contests really help, I think, hone your skills for that, as well as your antennas and your radios and all that as well. So next slide. Also, make it fun. You can do a live score server. CQcontest.net is the live contest source server a lot of us use for the international contests. Well, there was none for a lot of these domestic contests, so contestonlinescore.com came out with a live contest score server. So if you go to that website right there, contestonlinescore.com, and go in and register, put in your call sign, come up with a password, then you can go into your N1MM or whatever contest software you're using in their live score server section and set this all up. And I'll just show you that in the next screen if you show the next slide. When you go into N1MM, this is the most popular contest software, so I'm just going to show this one tonight. But when you go into your configure ports, then go to the next slide, and you click on your score server score reporting tab. See, it's the 6th, 7th, 8th tab over. That's where you're going to put in that you're going to report to the live contest score server. You're going to copy the circled URL up there and paste it into where the arrow is pointing to. You're going to put your call sign in, your password in, and make sure all those other boxes are checked, and you click OK. And N1MM is automatically going to send your scores to that live score server. So you can go back to that website, pull up that contest, and you're going to see your scores live while you're contesting with everybody else's scores while they're contesting. So it really makes it a lot more fun. And, instead of waiting till the end of the contest, submitting your scores, going and looking on 3830 to see how well you did after the contest is over, this lets you know in the middle of the contest while you're going on how well you're doing. And it really makes it a lot more fun. So that's it, and hopefully I'll see a lot of you guys in there, not this weekend, but the next weekend. And the weekend after that is the big one. That's CQ Worldwide CW. So that'll be a big one. That's Thanksgiving weekend. Now let's go on to our DX coming up. If you want to go to the next slide, we've got Mellish Reef. That one just came on. That's VK9 Mike Alpha, and they are on now through the 15th, and that one's pretty rare. So you're going to want to try and get those guys in the log. Next one is, you want to go to the next slide. Burundi. Oh, Burundi, that's now through the 17th, the 9U4M, and it's a really tiny country in Africa, and so it's semi-rare as well. And then the next one is Tanzania. That one's going on now, and that one, they're going to be there a long time. They're going to be there till December 4th. So a lot of good Africa coming up. So make sure you get on the air and try and get these guys in the log while you can. Next one, I think, Guinea-Bissau, more Africa. That one is the 13th through the 26th, and they have a nice call sign there, Juliet 5 Tango, so nice and easy. So, and that one should be a lot easier to work because they're on the coast. Also, we've got some Nauru. You can't hardly see, but it's kind of just north and east of Australia there. A teeny tiny island, and that is 3 gentlemen going to that one, and they all have their own unique call signs, but that one's very rare as well. So they're going to be on only through the 14th. And there's so much DX going on right now. I just couldn't go through all, do a slide for everyone, but there's a lot of other good stuff coming up. Micronesia, Vietnam, Vanuatu, San Andres, St. Bart's in Ghana, Montserrat. So, and again, those 3 Charlie 1 Lima guys are going to be there for a couple more days as well. So make sure you get on the air. Lots of good stuff to work. And the 3 Charlie 1, Equatorial Guinea, booming in on 160 from Africa right now. So that's a good sign, despite the propagation report Tabitha just gave us. So back to you, Don.
Let me unmute myself because, I sit here and I make funny noises while you're talking. And, well, actually, I make fun of you is what I make fun of myself is what I just sit here quietly and I'm amazed at how well you know this DX stuff because it's, quite frankly, it's Greek to me. It's almost like getting a mortgage, which is why we have you to explain DX and why we have Rocket Mortgage to help us with that task because everybody needs a mortgage at one or more points in your life. It's just a fact of life. And the mortgage experience wasn't keeping up with the times, quite frankly. It was dated. It needed client-focused technological revolution, which is exactly why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage gives you the confidence you need when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. It's simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and to be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. It's convenient. The trusted partners allow you to share your financial information with Rocket Mortgage at the touch of a button. It's powerful. Whether you're looking to buy your first home or your 10th, Rocket Mortgage is able to perform thousands of calculations in seconds. And based on your income, assets, and credit, Rocket Mortgage can analyze all of the home loan options for which you qualify and find the one that is just right for you. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply. Understand fully. Mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/hamnation. That's rocketmortgage.com/hamnation. Rocket Mortgage is an equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030. And Rocket Mortgage, thank you so much for being a part of what we do here at Ham Nation. Time to get into a little smoke and solder with our friend to the north of me by about 2.5 hours, George Thomas.
Hi, Don. Good to be back again. Well, you can tell I'm looking a little different tonight. Boy, we had some Skype problems here, and they're not totally solved, but hey, at least I'm on. Fortunately, our friend Randy, K7AGE, has been around the soldering iron again, and he put together this video for us.
Hi, Randy, K7AGE. I progressed a little bit since my last video. I've mounted a bunch of the components here on a piece of wood inspired by Bob Heil's Pineboard transmitter project. So I have the terminal strip that I completed in the previous video mounted on the the board here, along with a couple SO239 connectors, mounting with just some heavy wire and some wood screws, not very fancy. And the RF passes through the toroid down through this lug and out to this other connector. So that's the pass-through for the RF. This terminal strip here has some couple parts on there to deal with the SWR switching. We'll get to that a little bit later. And on the front here, I have the 1 milliamp meter, also mounted with some heavy wire and a couple of wood screws. Not very fancy. So a review of the schematic. The RF power comes from the transmitter through the one side of this toroid and loops out to the antenna or the load. It's also coupled with the second toroid to ground, and off the secondaries of both these toroids is the sensor for the forward and the sensor for the reverse. Now, these are exactly the same, and it doesn't really matter if the RF is going from the antenna to the transmitter or from the transmitter to the antenna. If we can feed in one and terminate on the other, we'll get a voltage. If we reverse this around, we should get the same voltage on the other terminal, and that'll tell us that this is balanced. So let's test that. So here's my test setup. I have my FT817 as my signal source. I have it connected to what I've identified as the transmitter terminal. The RF passes through, and I have a Tektronix 50 ohm 5 watt termination on the antenna connector. So I have the voltmeter connected to the diode here, and I'm going to measure the voltage at the 0.5, 1, 2.5, and 5 watts coming out of the radio. I will then reverse the connectors, move the meter over to the reverse diode, and repeat the measurements, and hopefully they'll come out close. 0.5 watt, 0.52. 1 watt, 0.80. 2.5 watts, 1.35. 5 watts, 1.97. Reverse the connections. Move the meter. 0.5 watt, 0.55. 1 watt, 0.82. 2.5 watts, 1.38. 5 watts, 2.010. So what this tells me is that the bridge is fairly well balanced. We're seeing slight discrepancies of 20 to 30 millivolts in the forward and reverse range, depending on the direction of RF. But I think for what I'm building here, this will be good enough, and it helps simplify the circuitry needed to turn this now into an SWR meter. So let's take a quick look at a commercial SWR meter to see how that works. So I have my Diamond SX600 SWR power meter. This is kind of nice because it has two sensors, one for HF and another one optimized for UHF, VHF. One of the things I don't like is that the switch is on the back to go between the two. Should have been on the front. Anyway, to do an SWR measurement, I have my 50 ohm load connected to the back of the meter here. And the first thing you do is you put the, quite often you'll have a switch go between cal and SWR. So you put it in the cal position and you adjust the knob here, and see up at the top it says cal. So you adjust that for full scale and then go to SWR. You can see the meter isn't moving, so my SWR is 1 to 1. So that's what I would expect with a good termination and a good meter. So what happens if I connect another load? These pass through, so it's 50 ohms to ground. I put a second one on, it'll be 25 ohms. Okay, so I go into cal position. I set this basically for full scale, change it to SWR, and there it is at 2 to 1, which is what I expect. Let's go back to the board. So to turn this into an SWR meter, I basically have a single pole double throw switch, so I can select the meter to measure either the forward and also the reverse voltages coming out of the sensor here. In series with the meter is a 10K pot, and the meter is tied to ground. So to use this, you flip the switch up to the forward, key the transmitter, adjust the pot for full scale, flip the switch to reverse, and get a meter reading that we can use to determine our SWR. So how did I figure out the value for this pot? Use a little bit of Ohm's law. So we'll go back to the table here, and you can see that the maximum forward voltage was about 2 volts with 5 watts. So to find resistance using Ohm's law, so R is equal to V over I. So R is going to equal to 2 volts over, it's a 0.017 milliamp meter, and that makes R going to equal to 2,000 ohms. So by using a 10K pot, I have range for higher power, and also in the QRP range, I have enough range on the pot in order to set it. So here's the switch. It's connected to each diode. The center position goes through the pot to the plus terminal on the meter. Negative terminal goes to ground. If I move the switch to the right, I can adjust the pot for full scale, move the switch to the left, and get a meter reading to determine SWR. So let's see if this works. I'm going to switch to the front for calibrate, key up, adjust the meter for full scale, switch it to SWR, and you can see the meter just barely moves. So now I'm going to connect this termination in series with the other one so we get an SWR reading. So adjust the calibrate for full scale, get that straight on the 1, change the switch to reverse, and I measure 0.32. But what SWR is that? So to figure out the SWR, we use the 2 meter readings that we measured. So SWR will be equal to the forward plus the reverse reading divided by the forward minus the reverse reading. So that's going to equal to 1 plus the 0.32 divided by 1 minus the 0.32. So I programmed this formula into a little spreadsheet on my phone. So I'm going to enter in 0.32 for the reverse, and it tells me the SWR is 1.94, which is basically 2 to 1, which is what I measured on my diamond meter. So that formula works. So even though I don't have an SWR scale on the meter, I now know that 0.3 is 2 to 1, which is good. And I know, I played with this, that if I have a meter reading of 0.5, I have an SWR of 3 to 1. So 3 to 1 and under is typically where we want to be. So I know if I'm half scale or down, my transmitter should be happy. 0.3 is SWR 2 to 1, 0.5 is an SWR 3 to 1. So let's check the SWR for various bands with the 50 ohm termination. 3.7 megahertz, 7.15 megahertz, 14.2 megahertz, 21.2, 28.45. So I think this wraps up my SWR meter project. This is the first time I built an SWR meter using a couple toroids. I think it worked quite well considering the building techniques. Everything's kind of out in the open, long leads, didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. And you can see the SWR of the meter itself rises as you approach 10 meters. But now you know what's inside one of these things, and you have a better appreciation. And if you got some parts laying around, you may want to put this together and learn about an SWR meter. So thanks for watching. This is Randy, K7AGE.
Okay, thanks for that, Randy. Interesting segment there, and nice to see a triplet meter back in use there, and you put it to good use on that one. Last week I asked a question, why would you use bleeder resistors in a power supply? We had talked about bleeder resistors and the Jesus stick and high voltage power supplies, so that's why I asked the question. Well, Patrick Kyle, K5PBK, said, George, the bleeder resistors are used in high voltage power supplies to discharge and bleed off the charge in the power supply's capacitors after the unit is powered off. Otherwise, the user could get a potentially fatal shock, even though it's turned off, because the filter capacitors can store significant energy for quite some time. And that's correct, Patrick. Congratulations. You're this week's winner, and you're going to win the, well, not this pair, but a pair of Heil Pro Set 3s. I need this one right here, as you can tell right now, to hear what's going on here. But Bob and the crew at Heil Sound will be getting you a set of Pro Set 3s. Actually, I will be shipping these to you. So direct from here, brand new, fresh in the box. You're going to really enjoy those. A great set of headsets, not just for amateur radio use, but also for listening to music. And, you know, Gordo's talked before about when you get inside a set of headsets that you need a little bit of monitor feeding back to you. Well, I could use some here. If you notice me reaching and pulling that earpiece back a little bit, is so I can hear myself while I'm talking. Even though these fit on top of the ear, they really do block out the background sound nicely. So I enjoy my pair, and I know you're going to as well. For next week, I've got another question here, and this time it's a simple one. You know, the title of this segment is Smoke and Solder. What do you think this is right here? It's made out of aluminum. If you know what that is, and you'd like to win an MFJ 113 giant LED clock, this one is 12 or 24 hours at the flip of the switch. It's an alarm clock as well. Big digits on it, battery backup. You know, what can you say about it? It's a big LED clock. You can see this one from across the room, no problem at all. And I like having the 24-hour display there. Pretty handy. From MFJ, the 113. If you'd like to win that, then tell me, what is this? Send your answer to me, hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you could win. And I do want to mention before I go on, Tommy and I will be shooting the next Amateur Logic this Friday night at 8 p.m. Central, 0200 UTC now with the time change. And boy, I'm still adjusting to that time change here. So join us if you're looking for something to do Friday night. Guaranteed a good time. Bob, have you gotten used to the time change yet up there?
No, not at all. I hate it. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's sure good to be back here, though, George. That was a great piece from Randy, wasn't it? That was terrific.
Yeah.
And he's a master with the soldering iron. We appreciate him being here. And gosh, everything was good so far tonight. Now you got to put up with me. And of course, you know what we're going to talk about. But a little bit different here. We're going to, first of all, I want to show you some pictures. Check this out. Bill, K400, he built his pine board vertically. Is this cool or what? The power supplies down in the bottom, and then the preamp is in the middle, and the final, of course, up on the top. What a great idea, Bill. Nicely done. And I'll get some other pictures from him, and we'll show you some more things. But I just want to keep on reminding you, we're dealing with some high voltages here, so just beware. And one of the things that I did here a few weeks ago, and if you're going to use this on the air at all, I would suggest doing this. We started off with a tube rectifier, which is only halfway. If we went all through that, if you missed it, go back and look at some of the videos that George did. They're really good. You can find all of this very easily. You go to heilsound.com, and down at the bottom of the ham radio page, pass up all of the microphones and headsets. Go down and look at the pine board and all the little video clips. Victor has taken just the video clips out so you can find what you want real quick. Check out some of that. Then you can see on the screen what we're talking about. It's also a whole lot of things about just comments and answers. I try to answer all of them in there. It's really good. But what I did is I went in and put a bridge rectifier. And the bridge is a solid state rectifier. George explained all of that. And instead of getting 150 volts, we now can get 350 volts. Now notice, be aware that we get two different voltages out of this. We get, by the time you get it over to the transmitter, it's going to be around 350 volts. And you'll see that at the top. And then you also have the regular 150 volts or so. This one came up to 190 I measured. That's for the preamp. And this will give you an additional output on your transmitter. So you have two lines. The 350 goes over and drives the transmitter, while the 150 drives the preamp. It works great. And here, if you missed it a couple weeks ago, I've had a lot of guys and gals ask me for this. This is the chart of voltages. And when you fire things up, these are the voltages that are so important and necessary to make this thing work. If you have all these voltages and you have the coil proper, you will have a very well working transmitter. Now, let's talk about the coil. We talk on a little bit, but we're not going to start putting a little more emphasis because it's probably time for some of you to start building the final. This coil is from MFJ, and it's the coil out of one of their amplifiers, and you can buy this as a part. I think it's like $6. And call down there and ask for the guys and they can help you. This coil, as you'll notice in about a third of it, I've punched one of the leads in. Let me do this for you. Right there. That lead is punched down because we can then take the little clip and make that lead be our 40-meter tap. And that way you can have two bands out of it. And it works really good. The little clip, just any kind of a little alligator clip or whatever, any of that will work. Here's a little better view of that clip. That's clipped onto the 40-meter tap. And that's from the coax connector center to the 40-meter tap. And change the crystal, and bingo, you're on 40 meters. It's that simple. And the coil is an MFJ coil, and it really works well. However, you maybe want to wind your own. And Bill did that. You'll notice a while ago when I showed you his. This is Gene, W4IQN. He did a wonderful job. And he used their cable combs. And those allow you to take some, I think he used number 14 or 16 wire. And it works great. I'll show you here in a minute how he did that. That is a very cool way to build the coil. And here are the cable combs. Now, all of this stuff is on the Heil Sound website, and it's in depth as to where the cable combs come from and all good stuff. But you can see step by step of what he did to make all this work, and it's fascinating to wind your own coil and make it work. You start off with a piece of PVC, and as anyone, check this out, wake up, don't be typing in the chat room, listen to me. If you're going to use PVC in a coil, put it in the microwave oven for about 10 minutes. And what you do is you're curing it. If you don't do that, it causes strange things to happen to the frequency. You don't want to do that. Then you're going to take that and cut a slot that slot down the length of the PVC. And then you want to insert some, little nails, or I use some wedges. I think that's what Gene used. Just wedges so it's open a little wider, so that when you get done, you take those wedges out, it'll come back to form a little bit. And then you wrap waxed paper. Do you remember waxed paper? Well, you take waxed paper and wrap it around there, and then align the 4 cable combs around the outer part. And there's the number. It's a McMaster Car is the company. You can Google it. 85085K8. Those are the combs. This is really cool. And then you secure the outer edges of those combs and, of course, the wax paper, and tape it down. And then start winding your number 14 wire or 16 wire. I used 16 when I did this, and it really worked great. But you got to leave a little extra to start and a little extra on the end. And then epoxy the wire to the cable combs. And when that all dries in a day or so, give it plenty of time, you take those wedges out, and bingo, you have a beautiful coil. And I'm not talking about just some junko. Look at this. This is what happens. This is Gene's coil. And this can be your coil. It's that easy to make a final coil. It's just wonderful, fun stuff to do. And when you're finished, get all through with it, this is what it will look like. Put on the transmitter, and it works really well, really well. Here's another view of it, and getting ready. That's where he's going to mount the antenna relays, and we'll be getting into that here shortly, and these on and off switch and so on. So this will help you get your coil all cooking and so on. And remember, these are the part numbers for the entire project. There's a couple that Antique Radio does not have for you, but we've covered that also. But if you go to Antique Electronic Supply and look in their search box and put P, BH, MP, that's for the mic preamp. Pineboard, BH, for Bob Heil, I guess that's what they did. Mic preamp. All the parts will come up, just about all of them. The AM transmitter is P for Pineboard, BH, Pineboard AM transmitter, PBAMT. And then the power supply is P, BH, PS. So there's all of your parts. Now, there's a few that they don't carry, but as we said before, they're available, most of it from Mauser, Gateway Electronics in St. Louis, and we mentioned several others, and you can see some of those on that website. So I hope this helps some of you get through a little further on it. I really applaud the nice pictures I'm getting. And Bill, that was amazing. Keep it up, buddy. What beautiful work. Gene does gorgeous work, and we're really happy about it. And I'm also very, very honored and happy to tell you that this entire project is going to be a feature article in QST around the first of the year. We're very happy and honored by that. They're going to take the Ham Nation project of Pineboard project, and it'll be a nice article, nicely done. You know, their graphics and all of that's well done. Their lab, Bob Allison there at the lab is working with us, going to do some things to make sure that it doesn't have crazy harmonics, which we can't find, but they're going to make sure. And also might even build a little external filter for a lot of the QRP guys. So we'll let you know more as that's coming along. So that's what we got tonight. And we're not in our usual place, but looks like we might be here for a couple of months. I'll keep you posted. I miss my radios, though, I got to tell you. But we're on a lot of big projects at the plant, which is about 5 miles up the road. And you'll know more about those when they hit to new products, and we're just getting to finalize those. So thanks very much to keep all this going and put up with me. I thank my sweet wife, Sarah, because I didn't think I was going to be here. We're scurrying around. I couldn't find one of the special cables for the USB, and she had one tucked away. So thanks to Sarah for getting us on the air. So I'm not sure where it goes from here because I couldn't even bring up the program schedule. So we'll probably see you right back here next week, and I hope everything looked and sounded okay tonight.
Ring in the holidays with D-Star. Looking for the perfect gift to put under the tree this holiday season? Check out ICOM's line of D-Star radios. ICOM offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. Unwrap ICOM's newest D-Star handheld portable this season. Lightweight, compact, and tough, the new ID31A Plus is a great choice for any shack or those in harsh environments. It's a 70-centimeter radio for both analog and digital, terminal mode and access point mode, and it has an IPX7 waterproof rating. Compact and user-friendly, the ID4100A is the gift any ham would love. It's the new D-Star Mobile with big rig features. Its intuitive interface, variety of operating modes, and Bluetooth capability make this the preferred D-Star option for those on the go. Integrated GPS receiver, new dot matrix display for enhanced DR mode and GPS information, terminal mode and access point mode, and micro SD card slot for voice and data storage. And there's applications for iOS and Android devices. The ID5100A has taken innovation and mobility to the next level. With its touchscreen and internal GPS, this radio is a must-have while assessing a situation. 5.5-inch touchscreen display responds naturally to touch. DV dual watch receives with both FM-FM and FM-DV mode signals simultaneously. Visit ICOMAmerica.com/amateur for more information on all the great ICOM radios.
And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation and register to win some great swag prizes like T-shirts and hats. While you're there, learn how you can win in the monthly grand prize drawing for a new radio as well. And for November, that new radio is going to be the innovative ICOM ID5100A dual band dual watch transceiver. It has a large intuitive touchscreen display, built-in GPS receiver. It does both analog and D-Star. It's got DV and FM repeater list functions, and there's an available optional Bluetooth module and headset and an optional free Android application as well. So go to ICOMAmerica.com/HamNation after this in each episode of Ham Nation and register to win. Sign up, good luck, and don't forget to follow ICOM America Inc. on Facebook and Twitter. And now it's time to bring in Amanda and find out what's been going on in the chat room tonight.
Actually, we don't have Amanda tonight. She is having a family celebration. I believe it's her mom's birthday, so they're off celebrating Amanda's mother's birthday. So happy birthday, Amanda's mom. So there you go. So, yeah, we haven't had time to watch the chat room tonight. Unfortunately, we apologize for that, but there's just no time to watch while we're actually doing the show to make it where we could catch everyone's questions. So when Amanda comes back, we will have her do the chat room. But I have scribbled down some notes here on my handy-dandy DX Engineering notepad, which, of course, you can find at DX Engineering. I don't expect you to, be able to read my writing, let alone see it. But our after-show nets, I have the information right here. Echolink is on the Dewdrop-In conference server. That is node 355800. D-Star is on 14 Charlie, and if you don't have a D-Star radio, you can listen at hamnationdstar.net. The DMR net is ongoing on TAC 311, and despite the horrible, horrible conditions, they're trying a 40-meter net tonight. They're on 7250. So if you've got the 40-meter fired up, just go ahead and spin over to 7250 and see if you can hear them. I heard there was a Mexico station working West Coast I think on 7190, I think that's where they said that was. So there is some propagation on 40. So hopefully you can catch them on the D-Star net. So I think that's going to do it tonight. A jam-packed show, a good one. So for all of our friends, Gordo, Val, Randy, George, Bob, of course, Dr. T, and Amanda, who will be back next week. I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW, saying 7-3 good night. Thank you for being part of what we do here. We do it for you, and we wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And we thank you for giving us a reason to sit here and all get together on a Wednesday night. It's great fun, and we appreciate all of you. So we'll see you all next week. Same twit time, same twit channel. Good night, everybody. See you later.